Hi everyone, wishing you all a very good afternoon, and I welcome you all to this crash course. And in today's class, we will be discussing theory about motion in a plane or motion in two dimension, or for that matter, we call it projectile motion. Some people also call it projectile motion. Am I audible and visible to all? Can you hear me? Can I have some raise hand that we hear you, sir? Am I audible, visible to all of you? My voice getting to you? Can I have some good morning, good afternoon, some sign, some wave hand, something that makes me understand that I'm getting on the other side of the screen? No one? No one, and no one can hear me? No one can see me? Okay, British. British says that he can hear me. Anyways, projectile motion or motion in two dimension. Now, when do we call the motion as two dimensional? We call the motion as two dimensional when the motion takes place in a plane. Do we understand motion taking place in a plane? Now, motion taking place in a plane means if I have this as my plane, x and y axis, if this is my plane of x and y axis, the object is free to move in this plane. In this plane means it can just move like this in any particular fashion. Motion in a plane can also be understood in this way. If you have a tabletop, if something is moving on that table, that is motion in two dimension or motion on a plane. If you have an ant or an insect or a lizard and it is crawling on the wall, that motion is also two dimensional motion. Take the example of this screen. Anything moves on this screen, that is also motion in two dimension. Now, what is there for motion in two dimension? To see at any point in time, we need two coordinates to specify the position of this particle. Or I can say the position of the particle is changing in two dimensions, and therefore it is known as motion in two dimensions. Now, in this motion in two dimensions, there are basically two different types of motion that we have to study. One is circular motion, which we'll be dealing in the later chapters. The other one is known as projectile motion. Now, what is this projectile motion? Now, remember, the projectile motion that we are going to do in this class is known as oblique projectile. What do you mean by oblique projectile? What do you mean by oblique projectile? Up till now, when we were doing motion under gravity was also projectile motion. But that was projectile motion in one dimension. Where what do you mean by oblique projectile is that instead of throwing the ball vertically upwards now, I'm going to throw the ball with an initial velocity u at an angle theta. This type of projectile is known as oblique projectile. This type of projectile is known as oblique projectile. So basically, if you can understand, if you can relate, there are three types of projectiles that we are going to study. Number one is oblique projectile. In oblique projectile, what is going to happen? X and Y, you're going to throw it at an angle u with a velocity u at an angle theta. This is known as oblique projectile. The second type of projectile is known as horizontal projectile. The second type of projectile is known as horizontal projectile. Now, what is going to happen in the horizontal projectile? You are going to get on the top of a tower and you are going to throw something horizontally so it follows this path. That becomes a horizontal projectile. The same thing could be done in a different way. If there is a plane, let us assume my drawing is very bad. This is my plane. If a plane is moving and it drops something from the the plane drops something, while the plane is moving and a bomb is dropped, the bomb is also moving with the same horizontal velocity as the plane. So if the bomb is dropped, the bomb does not fall like this. The bomb falls like this. This also falls in the category of horizontal projectile. So these two are horizontal projectile. The third type of projectile, which we have already studied, is vertical projectile. In vertical projectile or vertical projection, what is going to happen? Yeah, what happened was that we threw the projectile vertically upwards. It went vertically up, it came vertically down. So that was motion in a straight line, and we did it in the previous classes. Am I clear? That we had done this motion, and this was motion in one dimension. Now, quickly, as I told you yesterday, what is a projectile? I'll just show you something and we'll go quickly on that. I hope you can see this. Okay, now the definition of a projectile, if I can just make it somewhat bigger, I think you can see this. The definition of a projectile is something like this. If a body which is under flight through the atmosphere, but it is not being propelled by any fuel, so there should not be any fuel, that is, the motion is under the effect of gravity of Earth, then that motion is known as projectile motion. So projectile should not be fueled by anything. It must be flying freely. If I want to elaborate more, I probably told you this in the last class. There should not be any air resistance. I told you about an experiment when feather and ball are thrown and they fall on ground at the same time because of air resistance. They don't fall at the same time. The effect of curvature of the earth is neglected. The effect of rotation of earth is neglected because both of them changes the value of g. For all points on the trajectory, the acceleration due to gravity g is taken as constant. So g must be constant. Apart from g, there must not be any force acting on the body. There is no force acting except the force of gravity. The motion is taking place very close to the surface of earth. That means acceleration due to gravity remains constant. Do we understand this? Can I have some raise hand that we understand all these requirements for motion to be called as projectile motion? Now this projectile motion, if you get any problem which is not a straightforward problem, any problem in this projectile motion or motion in 2D can be thought of as consisting of two problems. One is the horizontal motion along x-axis, the other one is the vertical motion along y-axis. Do we understand this? These are two perpendicular directions and two perpendicular motions happening at the same time. Now you must remember that these two motions along x and along y are independent of each other. They don't depend on each other. So I can study the motion of x-axis without any interference from y-axis. I can study the motion of y-axis without any interference from the x-axis. Now remember, in projectile motion, since there is no other force apart from gravity, the horizontal component of velocity remains unchanged. It never changes. The horizontal component ux, it always remains same. Ux always remains same as vx. The horizontal component never changes. But what changes is the vertical component. The vertical component changes, and that is what is all about. The only component of velocity that changes is the vertical component. The horizontal motion is a uniform circular motion, and it is a uniform, and the vertical motion is a uniformly accelerated motion. It is taking place under the action of gravity. These are the three different types of projectile motions. Oblique projectile is the first type of projectile that we are going to study, and you must be aware of. The first thing that is here is equation of trajectory. Have you heard about the equation of trajectory? Anyone? Have you heard about the equation of trajectory? Equation of trajectory of a projectile. Have you heard about this term? Jayant has raised his answer. Okay. Now, first of all, we have to understand, instead of going into equation of trajectory straight away, I'll just start with something more basic that you might be more aware of. So I'll start with that thing. What will I start with is, see, this is my x and y axis, this is my x axis, this is my y axis. I throw a ball or a stone like this at an angle theta. It goes like this and it comes like this. Now this is the path that this body follows. This is the path that this body follows. This path is also known as the trajectory of the projectile. Am I clear? This path is known as the trajectory of the projectile. Can I have some raised hands that this path is known as the trajectory of this projectile, and the trajectory of this projectile is the trajectory of a parabola. Do you understand parabola? You must be aware of the term parabola. Parabola is a conic section. Well, we don't have enough time to talk about the conic section, but parabola is a part of a conic. Now, what are known quantities here is u is known, and theta is known. What are unknown quantities? It reaches to a maximum height. This is known as h max. This is the unknown quantity, h max. Then it takes some time. Some time it remains in air. It is known as time of flight. Then it covers some horizontal distance along x. That is known as the range of the projectile. Are you all aware of this? Are you all aware of this? Yes or no? Yes, we are. Everyone is aware of this. So if you are aware of this, you must also be aware of their formulae. Are you aware of their formulae? Anyone tell me? Are you aware of their formulae? Yes. Now, I will also tell you these formulae. I will also tell you this formulae, but I'll also tell you some small things that you must remember about this formulae. I'll tell you some small things that you must remember about these things. This T, capital T, is the total time of flight. This capital T is the total time of flight, which can be broken up into two things. One is time from here to here, which I say time taken to go up. One is the time from here to here, which I say time taken to come down. What will be the relation between time taken to go up and time taken to come down? What is the relation between time taken to go up and time taken to come down? Anyone? Tell me. Both are same. So T up is equal to T down. T up is equal to T down, and that will be equal to total time divided by 2. Do we all agree on this? Total time divided by 2. What is the time taken to go up? The different ways in which you can remember this, or you can remember the time of flight. What is the formula for time of flight? The first formula that you must remember is 2u sine theta by g. Yes or no? Do you remember this formula? 2u sine theta by g, time of flight. Raise hands will give me more confidence that you have read this formula. T is 2u sine theta by g. Okay. So time taken to go up will be half of this. Time taken to come down will be half of this. Both are same. What is the another way? A better way of remembering this formula. The better way of remembering this formula is 2 times uy by g. 2 times vertical velocity by g. This is the universal formula, whether you apply it for projectile motion, oblique projectile, or you apply it for your normal time of flight. If you throw something vertically upwards, the time of flight is also 2 times uy by g. But in that case, your uy becomes same as u, and hence it becomes 2 times uy by g. Are you understanding what I'm saying? Please raise your hands. I don't have time. Please raise your hand. Are you understanding what I'm saying? 2 times uy by g is the formula that you must remember. This is the highest point. Point A is the highest point. What all do you know about this highest point? What all do you know about this highest point? At this highest point, the vertical component of velocity becomes 0. Do we understand this? Vertical component of velocity becomes 0 at the highest point. What about the horizontal component? What about the horizontal component? What is the value of horizontal component at the highest point? The horizontal component anywhere will always remain same. Vx will always remain equal to ux. Do you all understand this? Okay. Now, next thing that you must remember is time of flight only depends on the vertical component of velocity. Time of flight only depends on the vertical component of velocity. It does not depend on the horizontal component. So, if you don't change the vertical component, time of flight remains constant. Will you remember this? Will you remember this? Time of flight will remain constant if the vertical component remains same. The next one is the maximum height. What is the formula for maximum height? What is the formula for maximum height? I hope you remember this. U square sine square theta by 2g. Do you remember this formula? U square sine square theta by 2g. Raise of hands will give me more confidence. Raise of hand will give you more confidence. Okay, now the another way of remembering this will be u y squared by 2g. Do we understand this formula? U y squared by 2g. U y squared by 2g. It is also valid when the motion is taking in one dimension under gravity. But in that case, your uy becomes same as u, and therefore this formula becomes u square by 2g. U square by 2g. Now again, it only depends on the vertical component of velocity. Two things only depends on the vertical component of velocity: time of flight and maximum height. If you don't change the vertical component, time of flight and maximum height will always remain same. Will you remember this? Next one, horizontal range R. Now there are different ways of writing this. Please look at all these ways. Horizontal range can be written as ux multiplied by t. That is one way of writing it. Ux is the initial component of horizontal velocity. T is the total time of flight. It can also be written as 2 times ux uy by g. Ux is the horizontal component, uy is the vertical component. That means it depends on both the horizontal velocity as well as the vertical velocity. The third way of writing this is 2 times u square sine theta cos theta divided by g. The fourth way of writing this,
u square sine 2 theta by g.
thanks, I was getting a bit tired, u square sine 2 theta by g. Now from here I can understand for maximum range, what will be the condition for maximum range? Maximum range happens at theta is equal to 45. For complementary angles, which is one is theta, the other one is 90 minus theta, range would be same. Do we understand this? Can I have some raise hand that we understand this, sir? These are simple things that you must be able to recollect. Okay. Now, as I said, the path or trajectory of this projectile is a parabola. What is the equation of this parabola? That equation of this parabola is known as equation of trajectory. Equation of this parabola is known as equation of trajectory. I hope you know the equation of this trajectory. What is the equation of this trajectory? Y is equal to x tan theta minus g x squared by 2 times u squared cos squared theta. Are you aware of this equation? Raise hands will give me more confidence. Are you aware of this equation of trajectory? 2 participants raise hand. Good. You are aware of this. Now look at the other way of writing this. Y is equal to x tan theta minus gx squared by 2 times ux squared. So instead of writing it as u cos theta, I have written it as ux. Now you must understand, what does this equation of trajectory tell us? What does this equation of trajectory tell us? What do you mean by the equation of trajectory? This is the equation of this parabola. At any point in time, this equation of trajectory tells us the relation between the y and the x coordinates of the particle. Y and the x coordinates of the particle. This theta is the angle of projection. This ux is the initial horizontal velocity of projection. X is the x coordinate. Y is the y coordinate. There is one more way of remembering this. Y is equal to x tan theta into 1 minus x by r. Do you know this equation? Y tan theta into x minus 1 by r into 1 minus x by r. Do we remember this equation as well? These are the three different variations. These are the three different variations of the same equation. So depending on what? Depending on what type of problem you have, what is asked in the question, you can use different equations for this. Am I clear? Can I move on to some questions here? Okay, good. As you see, I am in a hurry because we have very less time and we have lots of things to cover. Here is a sample question here. Let me, okay. Problem number 1. Can you do problem number 1? Problem number 1. The trajectory of a particle is represented by this equation. What is the angle of projection? What is the angle of projection in this question? Question number 1. Trajectory is given by this. What is the angle of projection? I hope you can all understand this. What is the answer for this one? y is equal to x tan theta minus gx square by 2 times ux square. Whatever comes with x is the value of tan theta. Tan theta is 30. Tan theta is root 3. So what is the value of theta? Theta is the angle of projection. So the angle of projection would be 60 degrees. Do we understand this? Everyone? See, Ashit has said, see, Ashit, do not send messages on this ID. Send messages either on everyone or the Astic ID. Only Astic, not Astic Udiniya. Okay, so the answer is C, 30 degrees. Problem number 2 is also based on the same problem, but they've asked a different question, I think. The path followed by a body projected along y-axis is given by this. If g is 10, what is the initial velocity? They have asked the initial velocity. Same question. They have asked the initial velocity in this question. Can I have your answers, please? Initial velocity is asked. You know the angle of projection is 60 degrees. Tan theta is root 3. Anyone can show me, can tell me the answer for this one? How will you get the value of initial velocity of projection? No one? No one? Okay, then I'll solve it. What do you have to do? Is you have to compare this equation with what? With the original equation. Y is equal to x tan theta minus g x squared by 2 u squared cos squared theta. Just compare this equation with the original equation. When you compare this equation with the original equation, you find out that theta is 60 degrees because tan of 60 is root 3. So theta is 60 degrees. Then you have this entire term gx squared by 2 times u squared cos squared theta. Root over 40 is correct. 2 times root over 10 is the answer. So you compare this entire term with this term. So here they have compared this entire term with this term. G by 2 times u squared cos squared theta. It's been compared to half. G key value is 10. You put the values, you get the answer. And the answer is 2 times root over 10. Do we understand this? Can I have some raised hands? That we understand this, sir? Great. Question number 3. The equation of a projectile is given by this. The equation of a projectile is given by this. What is the horizontal range? I will just enlarge it. I can enlarge it more. Can enlarge it more. Okay. Fine. What is the horizontal range? The equation of a projectile is y is equal to 16x minus 5x squared by 4. What is the horizontal range? What is the horizontal range? Can I have answers for this one? Y is equal to 16x minus 5x squared by 4. What is the answer to this one? Shall I do it? Shall I do it? Now, which equation should you compare it with? I have some message. Please don't send me message here. Shiva Lakshmi Prasad, beta, send message on the other ID. Not this one. I'm very difficult for me to see this one. How did you solve it, beta? How did you solve it? So basically what I've done, I am going to compare it with this equation. To compare it with this equation, I have to write it in the same form. So I'll write it like this. Y is equal to 16x will be taken out. 1 minus 5 by 4x divided by 16. That is what I will get. And I think you should be able to solve this and compare this. I think the range will come as this 4 will be multiplied here. This 5 will be divided here. I think the range will come as 64 divided by 5. Am I clear? This is the range. Whatever is in the denominator. So I have to take everything in the denominator. 4 comes here and 5 comes here. 16 by 5 multiplied by 4. 12.8. Yes, Keshav, that is correct. 64 by 5. 64 by 5. Am I clear? Can I have some reason that we have understood this, sir? No problems with this one. Only 2 participants have understood this. What about the others? Let me give a wake up call. Vijay, Lakshmi, Sudha, Revant, Bhojraju, Jyoti, are you in the dropper batch? You also come in the 11th standard. Teja, Shrikar, Bhagyavati, Dikshita, everyone has understood this, right? Now, apart from simple question based on trajectory or based on range, remember beta, I keep on telling this one thing to my students always. Whenever a question comes in a JE, whether it's JE mains or advanced, it will not be a straightforward question always. It will be a question which something is asked in a roundabout manner. Now, in a roundabout manner, they are not going to ask what is the maximum height or maximum range or this or that. They'll ask something else. For example, they could ask you what is the displacement of the projectile at any given time. What is the displacement of the projectile? Now, how do you get the displacement of the projectile? It will be moving along x as well as it will move along y. So you can make one equation along x, one equation along y. You can find out the x coordinate. You can find out the y coordinate. You put the x coordinate and y coordinate together. This will be your final answer in vector form. I will just zoom it out and show it to you. This is your final answer. This is your final answer in terms of vector, and this is the magnitude of this displacement. Please note it down because in the exam you might not be getting time to solve this. It will make some angle with the x-axis. The angle with the x-axis will be given by the y component divided by the x component. As you can see, this is the angle that this vector makes with the x-axis. You can always derive this formula, but in the examination hall, it might not be easier for you to find that time to derive. So please note down this. Have you noted this down? Have you noted this down? One more important, this could be a straightforward question in your exam. Tan phi is half of tan theta. What is tan phi? What is half of tan theta? So you can see here in this diagram, phi is the angle that this right angle triangle H r by 2 and this triangle, this angle is phi, the angle that the highest point makes at the point of projection, highest point makes at the point of projection, that angle is phi. The angle of projection is theta. How are they related to each other? We are not going to get into the trouble of finding it out. We are going to straight away use the relation tan phi is half of tan theta. Have you noted this down, everyone? Have you noted this down? These are the small things. There could be a direct question on this. Tan phi is half of tan theta. Can I move ahead now? Can I move ahead now? Okay. So here is this simple question. See, this is the type of question that you will have in exam. No question would be a straightforward question. No question will ask you what is the maximum range, what is the maximum height. This is the question that you get. A body of mass 2 kg with an initial velocity of 3 meter per second along OE, and is subjected to a force of 4 Newton along OF in a direction perpendicular to OE. So instead of making it motion under gravity, they have made it a general question, but that doesn't change anything. This is same as motion in 2 dimensions. You can make one equation along x, you can make one equation along y, and tell me what is the distance of this body after 4 seconds from the initial point. When I say distance, when they say distance, they mean the shortest distance. Can I have your answers, please? How will you do this? A body of mass will not make any difference. Has an initial velocity of 3 meters per second along OE and subjected to a force of 4 Newton in OF direction perpendicular to OE. The distance of the body after 4 seconds would be, and the answers are anyone with an answer? To get the value of this O, this distance D, you have to find the value of this X, horizontal component, horizontal coordinate, X coordinate, and the value of Y coordinate. How do you get the value of X coordinate? Initial velocity multiplied by time. The velocity does not change. X is equal to U into T. So you get 12 meters as the X component. To get the Y component, ut plus half at square. Acceleration is along downward direction. Everything is along downward direction. So you can call y as negative, or you can call everything as negative, or you can call everything as positive. Doesn't matter. You will get initial velocity along y is 0, half at square. You will get 16 meters. 12 square plus 16 square ka root will be your answer, and I think that would be 20 meters. Congratulations if you have done this. If you've done this, congratulations. Shall I move forward? Shall I move forward? Are we done with this? Shall I move forward? Now, that was a question based on displacement, how much the body has moved. Now, we could ask you a different thing. Instantaneous velocity. A very good example of what is happening here. A boy is jumping. He is following a parabolic path, but his skates are just moving in the same direction with the same velocity. This jumper will again land up on the skates because his horizontal velocity and the skate's horizontal velocity will be same. But as you can see, at different points, his velocity is different. At the highest point, he only has horizontal component. He does not have vertical component. At any other point, he has both horizontal as well as vertical. So his velocity, again, I will enhance the. I will zoom it. Okay, this much I think is good enough. I can zoom more. No, I can't zoom more. So at any point in time, I can write this velocity as Vxi hat plus Vyj hat. The magnitude of this velocity will be root over Vx square plus Vy square, which can be written in this fashion. Vx will always remain same as Ux. So this is Ux. This is Vy, which is Uy minus dt. Uy is u sine theta. So this is the velocity ka magnitude at any instant. You can remember this shortcut formula. If you want, you can note it down, else you can always get it. But I don't know how much time will you get to derive this. You can remember it, well and good. Can't, you can always derive it. Direction of instantaneous velocity, the angle that is instantaneous velocity, this is the instantaneous velocity, it makes some angle with the x-axis. That angle alpha. That angle alpha is given by vertical component of velocity divided by the horizontal component of velocity. Vertical component is u sine theta minus gt. Horizontal component is u cos theta. The final answer is tan inverse of tan theta minus gt by u sec theta. It looks very complicated in this way. This way, it might not look that much complicated. I will leave it to you how you want to remember it. Shall I move forward? Change in velocity. How much the velocity has changed? Initial velocity is u cos theta I plus u sin theta j. We all remember this. We all understand this. Yes or no? Please give me some raise of hands. Yes. Final velocity at the highest point. They are talking about initial point and highest point. At highest point, the vertical velocity is 0. Initial velocity still remains same. So now we have some shortcuts formulae. You can always get them. Change in velocity between projection point and highest point is minus u sine theta into j. Minus u sine theta into j. Very simple. When the object reaches ground, its final velocity, remember this. When the object was thrown up, the velocity was like this. Horizontal component ux, vertical component uy. But when it falls back like this. Horizontal component remains same ux. Vertical component in magnitude remains same, but in direction it goes down. I hope you remember it. Can I have some reason that you remember it? If the projectile falls on ground, thrown from ground, falls on ground, the only component that changes is uy. Uy becomes negative of uy. That is u cos theta minus u sin theta into j. The change in velocity, final velocity minus initial velocity will be minus 2 u sin theta. Compare this with this and you will find that the velocity has changed twice in magnitude. Can I have some reason that we understood this? Short points I am telling you. So going to save. We call it SOS. Do you know the meaning of SOS? SOS message. I was a marine engineer once upon a time from 1990s. 2001 to 2007, I was a marine engineer. I've forgotten how I was. SOS is used in shipping industry. Save our soul. The distress message. Whatever I'm telling you are distress messages. Save your soul's messages. I have not taught you for 1 year or 2 years or 6 months. I'm just teaching you for 30, 40 days. In 30, 40 days, whatever I can give you, I can give you that. I will give you that. SOS, all these are SOS. SOS. There is no point for me to explain it. There's no time for me to explain it. The only thing I can do is tell you what you should remember. In a projectile motion, the velocity at the maximum height is. What is the answer? What is the velocity at the maximum height? All of you know this. B, correct. Okay. Next one is question number 7. A body is thrown at an angle of 30 degrees to the horizontal. Small questions. With a velocity of 30 meters per second. After 1 second, what is the velocity? Do it quickly. Do it quickly. A body is thrown at an angle of 30 degrees to the horizontal. Theta is 30 degrees. Velocity is 30 meters per second. 1 second, what is the velocity? Anyone got an answer? Horizontal component will remain same. Vertical component will only change. You have to find the final component, then find the instantaneous velocity, or you can straight away use this formula if you can remember this. The only reason of me doing this question was that, did you note down the formula? Do you remember the formula? If you do, you will get the answer in a flash, and in a flash is also a fictitious character. 10 root 7 is the answer. 10 root 7. Do we get this 10 root 7? Do we get this formula 10 root 7? Yes, Reddy has got this. What about the others? Okay, okay. One more on this side. One more here. The next one. A projectile is fired at 30 degrees to the horizontal. Vertical component is 80 meters per second. What is the time of flight? Is t. What will be the velocity of the projectile at t is equal to t by 2? So basically what they're asking, they have given you the vertical component, and what are they asking? They're asking you the velocity at t by 2, which is the maximum height. So basically they're asking you the horizontal component of velocity. They have given you the vertical component of the velocity. They have given you the angle. They're only asking for horizontal component of velocity, and the answer is, yes, Lakshmi Prasad, that is B, 80 root 3. 80 root 3. Do we understand this? And this is a very popular question that has come many a times. Very popular question. A particle is projected from a point O with a velocity u in a direction making an angle alpha with the horizontal. At any instant, its position is at a point P at right angles to the initial direction of projection. What is the velocity at point P? Now, before doing this question, answer this question first. What is the minimum angle if I'm throwing it from ground, which in this case I am throwing it from? What is the minimum angle of projection that I should throw it so that its direction becomes perpendicular at least once? At least once the direction should become perpendicular to the original direction. What is the minimum angle through which I should throw this particle? At what minimum angle should I throw this particle so that its velocity becomes perpendicular to its original velocity at least once? What is the minimum angle? Can anyone tell me that? See, a problem that comes in an exam Yes, Jayan, that is correct. 45. The minimum angle is 45. If the angle is less than 45, because when you throw it at 45 here, like this, it falls at 45 here, like this. Total change in angle is 45 here and 45 there. In that case, the total change in angle is 90 degrees. So your angle of projection must be more than 45 degrees for you to have this condition. In this case, alpha is definitely more than 45. If it was exactly 45, it would have become 45 here, and it will become perpendicular right at the point where it touches the ground. Here it is doing somewhere else, and hence 45 alpha must be greater than 45. That was one part of the question. Well done, Jayan, but the question still remains. What is the velocity at point P? What is the velocity at point P? Again, there are different ways of doing it, but you must understand that you have to do it in the simplest possible way. Again, understand that the same question will not come to you in the exam, but this thing that you remember will help you in the exam. Maybe not in this question, but a question which uses the principle. How are we going to do this? It's been done very nicely. I made these notes and I'm very proud of them. They've done very nicely here. See, let me. See, we have used minimum of physics. The physics that I've used here is minimum. The physics part that I've used here is minimum. More about maths. Look at the beauty of maths. See, this is alpha. This is the point of projection and this is the initial velocity u. I hope everyone can see this. I can magnify it more, but then again, I'll have to go back. Okay, I can magnify it more. I magnify it more. At this point, the velocity is u. Angle of projection is alpha. This is the point of projection. This is the point P where the velocity becomes perpendicular to the original direction. The velocity here is v. Both these are perpendicular. So you see, this angle becomes 90. Now, as soon as this angle becomes 90, I can use some basic geometry. And I can understand that this angle would be 90 minus alpha. Do we understand this? Do we understand this? That angle is 90 minus alpha. So if this angle is 90 minus alpha, this component becomes V sin alpha, which is the horizontal component. Here the horizontal component was U cos of alpha. Now the horizontal component is V sin of alpha. Beauty, maths and physics. U cos alpha, V sin alpha, both are horizontal components. Should they be same or should they be different? Tell me, should they be same or should they be different? U cos alpha is the horizontal component at the beginning. V sin alpha is the horizontal component when it becomes 90 degrees with the original. Should they be same or should they be different? They must be same. They must be same. That means V sin alpha must be equal to U cos alpha. That means V should be U cot alpha. And that is the beauty of this question. Without doing any physics, only physics applied here is this: horizontal component of velocity remains constant. That is the only physics that we have applied here. Maths and physics go hand in hand. Physics is the language. Maths is the language of physics. Physics cannot do anything without math. If you are good in maths, you are good in physics. Physics is only in one sentence. The rest is all maths. Do we get this? Can I have some raise hand that we have understood this, sir? Beautiful question and done beautifully. One more on this, because these are the type of questions that you would see in the examination hall. So let me get it. Yeah, this one. 2 seconds after projection. 2 seconds after projection. A projectile is traveling in direction inclined at 30 degrees to the horizontal. After 1 more second, it is traveling horizontally. What is the magnitude and direction of its velocity? 2 seconds after projection of a projectile, it is traveling at an angle of 30 degrees to the horizontal. After 1 more seconds, it is traveling horizontally. What is the magnitude and direction of its velocity? So basically, they are asking the velocity. Anyone? How will you do this? Anyone has any idea? Okay. I'll give you 1 more minute. How to do this? Anyone would like to have any idea on how to do this? The first thing that you must understand here in this question is that 2 plus 1, 3 seconds. Yes, not 2 u sine theta Jain. U sine theta by g is 3. Time taken to go up is given as 3 seconds. Jain, do you understand your fault? Not 2 u sine theta by g, it is u sine theta by g. Time taken to go up. Do we understand this? Okay, Jain. So u sine theta becomes 30. So I have one component u sine theta as 30. As soon as you get this component, everything becomes pretty damn simple. Now, horizontal component, here the original velocity is u. Here I have taken the velocity as v. Okay. Now u cos theta will be equal to v cos 30 because horizontal component remains same. Now, between O to A in 2 seconds, the vertical component, which was u sine theta, has now become v sine 30. U sine theta has become v sine 30. And we already know that u sine theta is 30 from this equation. So we can put the value of u sine theta as 30 here, and I can get the value of v sine 30. From v sine 30, I will get the value of v. So I know the value of v is 20. Once I get the value of v, I can put the value of v here, and I can get the value of u cos theta. I get the value of u cos theta. I already know the value of u sine theta. U cos theta is known. U sine theta is known. We can find out the value of u and theta both. Do we agree on this? First step was from time taken to go up, I can find the value of u sine theta. Second step was applying equation from O to A. I get a relation between v sine 30 and u sine theta. I put the value of u sine theta. I get the value of v sine 30. Once I get the value of v sine 30, I get the value of v. Once I get the value of v, I can put it in the formula that horizontal component remains same. So I get the value of u cos theta. I have the value of u cos theta. I have the value of u sine theta. I can calculate the angle and the speed of projection. Do we understand this? Can we move ahead? Do we understand this? Okay. So you must understand what mistakes you were making, and then you can use them not to commit any mistakes. Now, this is one part which I have devised specially for you. This I don't teach to students in the 11th standard. This is just meant for students in the 12th standard because there are terms which they don't understand. For example, the first term is change in momentum. How much is the change in momentum between any 2 points, between the point of projection and the highest point, between the point of projection and the lowest point where and the point where it falls back again? You know the change in velocity multiplied by v, multiplied by m, you will get the change in momentum. Change in angular momentum. I hope you know what is angular momentum. With respect to some point, let us say with respect to the point of projection, in most of the cases, whenever you get this question, what is the change in angular momentum of the projectile? It will always be with respect to the original, with respect to the original point of projection. And you know, the angular momentum is mv into r, m into v perpendicular into r. So at the highest point, the momentum is mv. You can multiply this by r, and you will get the value of the angular momentum of the highest point with respect to the original point. Do we understand what I'm saying? Do we understand what I'm saying? Can I have some raise hand that we understand this, sir? To get the angular momentum at the highest point with respect to the origin, multiply mv by r. Yes or no? Do we understand this? Now, a small question. If I have to find what is the angular momentum at this point, at the point where it falls, what is the answer? Angular momentum with angular momentum at point B with respect to point O, which is the initial point of projection. What is the angular momentum? What is the angular momentum? This R, as you can see, is maximum height. This R, as you can see, is maximum height. What will be the angular momentum of point B at point B with respect to the point of projection? Is the question clear to everyone? Anyone got the answer for this one? You know the value of u, you know the value of theta, you know the value of g. These are the three things that you know. So your answer should come in the terms of these three things. No? Okay. Now remember what I said. When it falls, this velocity is m into, why I'm using m? This velocity is uy and this velocity is ux. Ux velocity, the horizontal component of velocity never changes. The only component of velocity that changes is uy. When I threw it, uy was upwards. When it comes back on ground, uy is downwards. Do we remember this? Can I have some raised hands? This is probably the last point of today's class because we are going to study a little bit about angular momentum also. So I'll just wind up the class here. So uy goes down. So the angular momentum at this point would be, the momentum will be m into uy, the vertical component of momentum, m into uy, multiplied by this distance, and this distance will be range r. So the angular momentum at this point is muy multiplied by r. Do we understand this? Can I have some raised hands? Where r is the range? Where r is the range of this projectile? Right. Now see. Let us go back into momentum and angular momentum. And let us try to squeeze everything in this chapter. Momentum. When does momentum of a body change? Tell me, give me the answer. When does the momentum of a body change? Whenever body is acted upon by a force, its momentum changes. Yes or no? Yes or no? Yes or no? Give me raise hand that we understand this. So whenever force acting on a body. Whenever there is a force acting on the body, the momentum of the body changes. Now remember, the only force acting on this body is in the downward direction, which is acceleration due to gravity, which is force of gravity. The only force acting is acceleration due to gravity, and therefore its momentum only changes in the y direction. The velocity of y changes. Momentum along y changes. Momentum along x never change. Momentum along x never change. Yes or no? Yes or no? Okay. Momentum along x never changes. Remember, angular momentum between angular momentum only changes when there is a torque. If there is torque, angular momentum will change. If there is no torque, angular momentum cannot change. Your angular momentum is changing because there is a torque acting on this body. There is a torque acting on this body. Who is creating this torque which is acting on this body? Who is creating the torque which is acting on this body? The force of gravity is creating this torque, which is always in the vertical direction. The vertical direction lies in the plane of the figure. The vertical direction lies in the plane of the figure. So its momentum, its angular momentum, because angular momentum is the cross product of R with mv or torque with R. Its angular momentum remains same in the horizontal plane. So it was always zero, it always remains zero. Its angular momentum only changes in the direction which is perpendicular to the plane. And look at this angular momentum. This angular momentum is like this, perpendicular to the plane along this axis. It's an axial vector. I hope you understand what I'm saying. I will tell you more about axial vectors in the next class. Whenever we come on to rotation, I'll tell you more about axial vectors. This was all about momentum and angular momentum, and I think these problems are pretty damn simple. We can do it. Okay, you can ask this question. You can answer this question. Problem number 18. A body is projected from the ground with some angle to the horizontal. What happens to the angular momentum about the initial position in this motion? What happens to the angular momentum about the initial position in this motion? Decreases, increases, remains same. First increases, then decreases. What is the answer? What about the angular momentum? T, it always increases. Initially it was 0. And when the velocity increases, the angular momentum keeps on increasing. So with that, there is a wrap of this today's class. We have discussed time of flight. Let us go through this. We have discussed time of flight. I have told you about all this. I'll send you this. Do you have a group where you are all there? I'll send this thing with you. We have discussed time of flight. We have discussed horizontal range. We have discussed maximum height. I have told you the maximum range. Okay. I'll see where I can send you all this. I'll see. I'll ask them to probably make a group of you so you can solve these problems. And if you can solve these many problems at this point in time, it is more than enough for what you got to do. So I'll do one thing. I'll somehow try to send you this file. Somehow, 48 problems are there. More than enough for you to do it at this point in time. So I'll see how can I do this. And it's a wrap from my end for this. We are done with your motion in 2D and 1D. In short, as much as I could. The next class, I will start with probably Newton's laws of motion. So we'll discuss them in short, and we'll see some problems on them. And let's see how things go up. If there's any doubt, you can ask me. Else, I hope that you remain safe, healthy. God keep you happy. We'll meet again tomorrow with some new thoughts, the new topic. Until then, take care. Bye-bye.